Welcome to Dropping In, a podcast of storytelling and interviews with your host, Winter Olympian Mercedes Nickel.
Thank you so much for dropping in today. This is episode 44, series 5, where we are diving deep into things all shoulder season's blues. I was feeling down, so I thought everyone else was feeling down, and I wanted to open up the conversation about mental health while it's getting really dark in Canada in the fall. We just had a beautiful summer, and fall has sunk in, and the global pandemic is still here. It's getting me down. I've actually come to Mexico. For those of you that are watching on YouTube, I am here in Mexico trying to get some sun, some extra vitamin D, even though Dr. Don Valle has told us where we can get some beautiful vitamin D as a supplement. Well, I went straight to the source. And let me introduce episode 44's guest that we will be dropping in with. He honestly has all the things that we need during the shoulder season. He has a BA in physical education with a major in sport performance and nutrition, and is a registered massage therapist. We need to exercise, we need to eat properly, and we need self-care. Those seem to be all the things we need during the shoulder season. He started out in athletics at an early age. He switched from running on a normal track to an ice track for Team Canada. He is a 3-time Olympian and in the 4-man bobsled. This son, friend, registered massage therapist, 3-time Olympian is here to share his thoughts on the shoulder season. Let me introduce Neville Wright. Neville Wright, are you ready to drop in?
I'm ready.
Okay, so on dropping in, I start with rapid fire 10 questions. You have not seen these questions, so they're brand new to you. Here we go. Number 1, if you could travel anywhere in the world right now, where would you go?
I don't have a specific place, but it would be anywhere that is blazing hot and has a great location for snorkeling.
Oh, I like it. Okay. Number 2, what is your favorite season?
Oh yeah, summer all day.
Good answer. I love summer and you're a bobsled athlete. That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
Number 3, big city or small town?
I think it depends on the mood. I'm gonna say big city, just because now I'm more of a, I wouldn't say social butterfly, but I like to interact more with people. I have small city times, but yeah, I'll say big city.
Big city.
I'm like overcomplicating the questions.
No, I like it. I like it. I like a good explanation. Number 4, when people ask you how you are, say you're walking down the street and they're like, oh, hey, how are you? Are you like honest with your answer?
I would say for the most part, like I'm good. I tend to, I think when someone says how you are, I don't think they're looking for a storybook like, oh man, my week was like this. It's just more like, I'm not good, and then, or I'm all right, or not bad.
Yeah.
So yeah, I usually keep it pretty short, keep it honest. If they want to dive into it more, then yeah, I'll explain more, elaborate.
I know. I always have that canned answer that's like, yeah, I'm good. And I'm like, no, wait, I'm like not good. I'm okay.
Yeah.
You know, I have to like think about it.
And that's what I'll do. Yeah, I'll be like, I'm good. If I'm like, okay, I'm like, you know what? I'm grinding through it.
Mm-hmm. I think that's so good. I mean, we need to change it to be not being like completely like, yeah, I'm good. I'm totally fine. Everything's fine. White picket fences. It's not like that anymore.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 5, honest. How are you feeling about this global pandemic?
In the beginning, it sucked. Well, in the beginning, I was like, okay, let's see what's going on. Then there was a moment it sucked a lot. Like a lot of my stuff got shut down. So I was just kind of in limbo. But then I figured out a way to navigate it and stay in a good headspace to get through it.
Amazing.
So now I'm good.
Okay. I feel like we're opposites. Which is good. Like I think there's 2 ends to the pandemic right now. It's like you were good in the beginning and maybe you're not good now, and vice versa. So we'll dive deeper into that later.
All right.
Number 6, what is a superpower you wish you had?
Omnipotent touch. So anything I touch, I know and understand how to do it or have that ability.
That's super specific. Have you been asked this before?
A while ago. I'm a big superhero, I guess, super fan.
Are
So
you?
I'm like, man, what power would I want? So yeah, to be able to touch anything, know and how to do it right away.
Who has that in the superhero world? Because I like superheroes too.
Nobody. I think the closest person to have it was way back in like the 80s was a Meteor Man. He could like touch a book and he knows all of a sudden, he knows like if there's a book of martial arts, he knows all the martial arts moves and everything in that book. So
Cool.
yeah, but I'd want it to be able to do like, it could be electronic. I can touch a laptop and know everything about it and know how to operate it, stuff like that.
I would also like that as well. Screw flying.
You need like to bundle up if you can fly, you know?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. Number 7, when you think of the shoulder season, what is the first thing that comes to mind?
I think of the shoulder season. I just think low times.
Yeah, that's totally
That's what
true.
that what comes right to me. Low times.
Yeah, that's very honest. Okay. Number 8, this kind of is a follow-up. Do you have a trick for the shoulder season low times?
Yes. The biggest thing is, there's a few things that I do is one is manage my recovery. So whether it be therapy, self-care, whatever it may be, my energy levels through exercise and also through nutrition, like whether it be nutrition, supplementation, and then yeah, those are the main things that I focus on.
Amazing. I want to dive deeper into that after the rapid fire for sure.
Okay.
Number 9, do you take supplements? And we'll probably talk about this in depth more.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when you are an athlete or a very active individual, you're no longer a part of the average population. So because of that, I feel that you deplete more stores of certain vitamins and minerals. So supplementation, I think, is important.
I love it.
To help
Okay.
with optimal performance.
No, for sure. Totally. Something's got to power those muscles, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Number 10, would you say that you get the seasonal blues?
I have my moments, but I manage those blues by, like I kind of referring to your other question, by exercise, nutrition, and just kind of monitoring myself. So making sure I have self-care.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you so much. Those are like open and honest answers to those questions, which a lot of people, the reason I'm doing this series is because I put a post up that was saying I was not feeling good. And the responses that came back was unbelievable, with the amount of people that are also not feeling good. And it's not just because of the seasonal change. It's a lot to do with the big global pandemic that's still affecting a lot of us. Yeah. And so I just really want to pick your brain. And I'm glad that you did say that it does sometimes affect you, and that we're going to really dive deep into maybe what happens to you when you do feel these effects coming on, and then also how you get through it would be like super beneficial for people to hear, because I think it's important to know that you're not alone out there. So
100%.
Let's talk about the beginning of the pandemic, where, yeah, it was really difficult for you. Were you accountable to other people, or like, how did you kind of get through those tough times?
So the beginning of the pandemic, like, first of all, you're like, you don't know what's going on. And, all of a sudden it was like, everything was shut down. Like, I'm a therapist, so I couldn't coach anymore. And then all my speaking engagements got canceled.
Yeah.
So someone was like, oh man, like the way it came off, like, and how everything happened so quick and sudden, it was like, man, the zombies are coming out. I don't know what's going on, kind of thing. And then
Wait, everything that you have, let's just take that away.
yeah. So then that happens, and I'm kind of just, all right, you know what, let me just use this time to kind of work on some other things and self-development. But then it started to get, it was prolonged, right? And I'm self-employed, so I'm an entrepreneur as well. So now I don't really have income coming in, so it starts to get a bit stressful. And then as we're going through it, I started to notice that because you're locked up, you can't really go anywhere. And I started to notice that I started to get like irritable.
Yeah.
My energy was lower. I was like just feeling like, started to feel like down. And but I was fortunate to be able to acknowledge that, because I think, being an athlete for so long, the one thing as an athlete is we're super aware of ourselves, or we try to be of our emotions, of our energy, things like that.
Yeah.
So I acknowledged that was what was happening, because I couldn't even focus. And then as soon as I started to acknowledge that, I'm like, man, I think I'm starting to get like depressed here. And I'm like, I need to deal with this right now. And I was working on it a little bit, but not as much. And I was like, I sat down and said, you need to go back to the place where you felt best, where you had most peace, where you had the most energy. And for me, it was training, doing exercise.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, I set up my my basement was kind of scattered with like equipment. I set my basement up, started getting some other, no, I had equipment already, but I was like kind of fixed the layout so it was like aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah.
And then I just started exercising. And I mean, there are days that I remember I was lifting one day, and I was like, I looked at the time and I was like, oh my goodness, I've been working out for like 4 hours.
No.
Yeah.
Nice.
But then all of a sudden, everything just started to change. I had way more clarity, I had way more energy. There's things I was working on, and I was able to complete it in the day and stuff. So that's kind of how what was happening, what I acknowledged, and then how I navigated through it.
For sure. I mean, it is different being an athlete and knowing your body and knowing when things are changing. And I find a lot of interesting conversations that I have with other people, because I'm open about struggling with depression, which honestly, I swear the whole world, it struggles with it. They just don't know what it is. So I do appreciate you diving deep into what those feelings were. You said like irritable and like low. And so what do you think the breaking point for you was to actually go and work out? Was it you kind of felt the depression coming on? Had you had depression before?
I haven't had, I say, depression per se before, but what was happening is that I started to realize that I started to do things or respond or act out of character.
Yes.
And like I said, I'm always trying to be aware of that. And I noticed that it's like, like I get frustrated or upset with certain things where I normally wouldn't be like a quick trigger, and little things were bothering me, which normally wouldn't bother me. And then I wasn't sleeping very well. And I was just irritable. And then I was just kind of like, I'd had days where I'm just sitting down and just moping. And I'm like, man, I think I am actually getting, and I mean, this is, I acknowledge this because I've had discussions with other people about, having depression and things like that. And I've had like adrenal burnout. I had that very early in my career, where it's a accumulation of physical and mental stress. So it was some of the symptoms from that I started to acknowledge that started to happen as well. That's why I was able to identify it and then put a plan into action in order to deal with that.
So amazing. It's so inspiring. I find, like, personally, I find it, I need to do the same thing. Like we were opposites. Like my beginning of COVID, I was like, ladies, we're going to work out 3 times a week. If we're going to like do this, we got to get through this. And then working during COVID was difficult. Having a job, if you had a job, you had 10 people's jobs. And it was like, there's burnout from that. And you don't have time to work out. And I know that I need to work out. Like, this is something I know, but then the nights got darker. The rain came in September rather than October. And I was just like, okay, this is the beginning of COVID where people put on weight. I am putting on the weight and I don't know what to do about it. And to be honest, you're my first one. You're my first guest, because I've actually come down to Mexico to seek some sun, because I was not in a good place at all.
Yeah. And that was the thing too. As I noticed, I started to put on weight too. And I remember I was like looking at myself, I'm like, oh my goodness, what's happened to me? I'm like, my body. And then, so that's where I was like, I can't allow this to happen. And it was like, and I started to get, so when I started to get back that energy and stuff, because it wasn't just the working out too, I understood that also with nutrition played a big role, right?
Yeah.
Like I had to make sure that I was shifting from making sure that I wasn't eating energy dense foods and shifting to having nutrient dense foods, right?
Yeah.
So that way then, blood glucose isn't spiking and dropping, and then all of a sudden you're getting low energy and stuff. And then obviously supplementing as well. I have a certain level of melanin, so it's hard for me to absorb vitamin D.
Okay.
And so I had to make sure that I was taking that as well, because I was prone to vitamin D deficiency as well too, which can play a role as well too, because I mean, especially when we don't get a lot of sun, right?
Yeah.
So
I had Dr. Dom on. She's a Chinese traditional Chinese medicine doctor, and she just talking about the supplements that she has on at her clinic was amazing. And I was like, okay, vitamin D, can you overdose? She's like, you can't overdose on vitamin D. I'm going to have a naturopath on as well to find out more about what exactly we should be taking. But so would you say you daily take supplements, and what are you willing to share what those supplements might be?
Yeah. So,
for a giant,
this helped
You're
me.
a giant.
Say again?
Supplements for a giant.
Well, put it this way. So, like I said, as an athlete, I find that, we deplete our stores a lot quicker with certain things, where, you can eat as much as you want and, have a proper nutrition, but sometimes we just need that extra. So I would talk to nutritionists, naturopaths, I have a background also a bit in nutrition as well too. So supplements has been a big thing. Like, I mean, vitamin D, I would take a B complex called Stress B, which is really good. B12, vitamin C, help with cortisol levels. Greens as well. If I'm not consuming greens, like say, for example, if I'm gonna do a workout, I'd have the greens powder as well. And then like, resveratrol, antioxidants, ashwagandha, like there's a bunch of like different antioxidants and like pretty much just, supplements to help with my energy levels and recovery, that I would take, that I found that was very beneficial.
For sure. Oh, thank you so much for sharing. And I know a lot of people will get so much out of this, and it is always good to ask for help if you're needing help in any which
100%.
way. Yeah. So crazy.
Well, even if you look at with supplements too, like, because I mean, granted, there are some people that have to take like medications, for example, for depression or to help with energy. But I mean, when you look at, things like, the best form of medicine that you can have or get, one is exercise, and it's for free. You know what I mean? And then, proper nutrition, with whether you're eating or supplementation to help, help correct some of these issues.
Yeah. I love it. Awesome. Thank you so much. So what I'm just rounding out from our conversation, our very quick conversation, is that self-motivation is pretty important. Finding what
100%.
makes you happy is also really important. Supplements are important. Trying to not let yourself go too far off the deep end before you get help or help yourself. Thank you so much, Neville. Do you have anything else to add?
No, I think just, I'll reiterate, physical exercise, proper nutrition, supplementation, also recovery too. Like recovery is a big component,
Mhm.
getting that, whether it be a massage or whatever type of treatment or, hydrotherapy to even taking a break. A lot of times people feel you have to go, go, go. But it's like, no, take a break. Like if you need a day off from just doing anything or thinking, take that time for yourself to help with your recovery.
I love it. Are there any exercises that you might offer other people to try out?
I
Anything on your
experimented a lot,
repertoire?
so I would do I would do like little circuits for myself that
Mhm.
consist of like say like battle ropes, jumping jacks. I've done chair workouts where I just had a chair and did like from squats to Bulgarians to push-ups to whatever. So I think it's just getting creative or even finding what's enjoyable for you, because that's the other thing too. You need to enjoy it in
Yeah.
order for you to stay with it and for it to be effective. So yeah,
Yeah.
whatever works for you. I
For
do some
me,
martial
it's
arts as well
I
too.
have an app. It's funny you say that because I'm like, well, I don't enjoy it, but I set a goal to finish this like app if it's like 7 days in a row or something like that. So you can always set goals for yourself
Yeah,
that you want to achieve, and then you feel like you've
yeah,
ticked a box. It's
yeah.
pretty
Do
cool.
some challenges.
Yeah, I love it. Neville, where can people find you online?
So on Instagram, I have at N Wright, so NWRIGHT 021. I also have my therapy page, which I haven't been super active on, but that one's at Wright PTYEG. And then I'm on Twitter, Facebook. I don't have TikTok. I kind of do, but not really. LinkedIn
I've had to
as
delete
well
it
too.
twice for my mental health.
Yeah,
Awesome. Well, Neville, thank you so much for dropping in with us today. We really appreciate you taking the time and being vulnerable and sharing your stories.
no problem. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much for dropping in. You can find all the dropping in episodes on the Dean Blundell Network or on your preferred podcast network, where you can subscribe and not miss an episode.